So not everything spiritual is intuition. Sometimes it's just unhealed wounds and emotions. Okay? Let's handle that. So, the first thing that's coming to me about why there might be a foggy line here between you thinking that everything spiritual is your intuition talking to you is because delusion might be in play. Oh, man. And this is a very interesting topic because I have made videos about sometimes you have to be delusional, okay? But when my belief upgrades, my whole being upgrades, and I don't need to explain that, okay? Unless somebody really, really wants to understand. Otherwise, I get to just keep evolving, and so can you, okay? Period. All right. But because you're here and I want you to understand, and I know you're here because you want to understand, I'm going to break it down to you on how I evolve my beliefs, okay? And how I go beyond just grasping on to what a spiritual person says and making it my own, even if I respect them, because it has to make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. I said, make it make sense. Make it make sense. All right, let's make it make sense. All right. So when I'm like wanting to communicate effectively, there's a difference between receiving downloads, receiving messages, and get revelations in a way that I wholly understand, and then communicating that. Okay? They're different things. They're different things. And if you are not sure on the information you received, you also won't be sure of how you communicate those things. Okay? So, research and expanding your vocabulary is necessary. Okay? And especially when we go into multiple languages, it's a very interesting thing. Okay? But we're going to talk about the English language for now. Okay? All right. So, let's break it down. Sometimes when we're being spiritual, right? And especially when we are following other spiritual beings who have high intuitions, it's easy to adopt what they're saying, how they're saying it, how they're doing it, what they're doing, without passing it through your own intuition for validity. Okay? You need to pass it through your own prism. Okay? Because you have a very unique ability and gift to judge. All right? And everyone has different levels of being able to judge. And this is what I want to talk to you about. So, if you're not judging what's coming through your senses, through your prism, you could be receiving something that is a virus, poison, and meant to spread. Okay? And if we're not being conscious, we could easily spread those viruses through words. Okay? Now let's think about it. Of all the English language, now the English vocabulary and language is one of the hardest to learn. One, because we have so many different meanings for the same words. Okay, I think it's ridiculous, but whatever. It is what it is, and this is where we're at. So if we're going to decide to be communicators, then we have to learn how to best communicate these words with knowledge, wisdom, and power. We're not going to just say, well, this is what it means to me. Okay? If you're behind closed doors and with your loved ones and you're trying to express something, you can say that, but let's still come to common grounds on the word, even if it means pulling out the dictionary. Okay? And that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to start with the word delusion. Okay, let me make space so I could have it up here for you. Delusion, a false belief, and this is just, sometimes there's multiple definitions, so you want to scroll down, okay, and see, and this is a trick if you're playing Scrabble, okay? If somebody trying to say that word's not in there, make sure you look at all the definitions, okay, and look at and scroll down and open it up because your word might be there, okay? So, delusion, a false belief or judgment about external reality, held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, as a symptom of serious mental illness. Okay? So, I get it if we want to say, let's be delusional in the fact of having faith to believe in the unseen. However, the English language has been taken from the etymology of words matter, okay? It matters when we're reading historical documents like the Bible. It matters when we are communicating truth, okay? And even if we're trying to get some sort of understanding in the moment, we can go surface level, but if we really want to go deep and create lasting change, we will need to change the vocabulary and the words we use in our everyday language to match the vibration of that which we are intending. And it does require understanding the etymology of the words, okay? And so let's just start with this base definition of delusion. In the definition that is sent out amongst all the people, it includes mental illness. So if we are using something to create life and abundance, there's already a direct contradiction in the meaning of the word. Okay? Now, we can be poetic, and in poetry and art, you get to do what you will, okay? Because that's the best way for us to express and explain truths in a unique way that is authentic to how we really see and perceive. But when we are needing to be understood, sometimes we need to be less poetic and more direct. Okay? So now, let's look up discernment. This is how I dig, okay? The ability to judge well is the first one, okay? Now, already, I see two similarities between delusion and discernment, which is judge, right? And this, I'm looking up discernment because the energy I'd like to help reveal to you and moving from delusion and a replacement to give you is discernment, okay? Instead of being delusional, let's be discerning, okay? And so discernment. And then I looked up the word judgment, okay? The ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions. And then I looked up sensible. Sensible. A statement or course of action chosen in accordance with wisdom or prudence, likely to be of benefit. So discernment actually matches the energy that I am trying to express more than delusion when I'm reaching for something that has not yet manifested in the physical realm. Okay? And therefore, there's no energetic contradiction when I'm expressing it and trying to feed this energy or seed the energy in a way that can be nurtured, grown, and harvested. Okay? So, discernment, not delusion. Discernment, not delusion. And when we use discernment instead of delusion, this is how we can become more clear on what's our intuition versus something that's just spiritual. Okay? Now, let me put this down so I can really dig in deep. Unhealed emotion will cause us to be delusional. Okay? And a lot of times this happens when we are trying to override someone else's choice to be who they're choosing to be and to do what they are choosing to do. Okay? And I had to learn this firsthand, because as a powerful manifester, you're like, if I can choose whatever reality I want and bring it into my being, then I want to choose the version of this person that matches the frequency of that which I'm trying to create, right? However, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, how can two walk together unless they agree? Okay? How can two walk together unless they agree? So these are two creators, two beings. In order to create something righteous and of God and that's in true, pure alignment, both have to agree to create it. Okay? And this is a fail-safe for divine creators, which is why sometimes when you're trying to force something to work, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't go together, because you have to allow people to have free will and free choice. That is what makes us godly. Okay? And when people are not choosing the most righteous version of themselves, then we have to choose to separate. Because if we don't separate from them, then we eventually will separate from ourselves. Okay? My mom, she told me something when I was growing up that was so valuable. And she was like, she told my sister, both me and my sister, girls, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Okay? Don't try and marry somebody thinking you're going to change them. Okay? If they change, then count it as a blessing. But don't count on it. Don't get with someone, marry someone, thinking that they're going to change. And I had to learn that time and time again, because I thought I could love people through their abusive behaviors. I thought I could love people through their devilish ways. But they had to choose to be something different. I thought I could choose people from being sneaky and manipulative and just dirty in their minds, dirty in their hearts, dirty in their spirits. I thought I was clean enough to clean them up, but they have to have the desire to be clean. Now, there are some people who have a desire to be clean and they just don't know how to clean themselves well. Okay? And when they have the desire, you can walk together because they're just still learning how to be righteous. But their desire is to be righteous. Okay? But if someone does not desire to be righteous, you can know the tree by the fruit it bears. Their actions will let you know if they want to be righteous. Their thoughts, what comes out their mouth subconsciously, will let you know if they want to be righteous. It doesn't matter what kind of platform they're on. It doesn't matter what kind of congregation they have. It doesn't matter how long you guys have been together. This is the truth that needs to be faced. This is the truth that needs to be handled, because your intuition has been trying to tell you, but instead of using discernment, you've been delusional, thinking that these spiritual practices could override your intuition. Your intuition is saying, those are practices that might be good for somebody else, but that's not a match for you. It's not a match for who you are and who you are becoming as God's chosen. Okay, this is so deep. All right, and let's just see what else you want to say regarding this conversation. What's your thinking edge right now? What is your thinking edge right now? Okay, so that means what's all the way in the corner just before it slides off. And usually, unless you are abiding with a supernatural magnetic force, that edge means you're about to fall off. Okay? And based on this conversation, that is what it's about, is where's the edge of your thinking where it's almost delusional. That's what you need to fix. That's what you need to handle. Okay? And then 2 cards came out. You do want to trust your intuition. I trust my intuition and inner wisdom. That's what you need, the affirmation you need to say to yourself, and then allow yourself to follow inspired actions. Okay, that's intuition. I trust my intuition and inner wisdom, and I am connected to a higher power and my divine purpose. If it's not aligned with your divine purpose, you might be delusional in what it is that you're desiring. And if you're not sure about what your divine purpose is, you need to fast. And you need to spend more time alone, more time off the phone, more time in your own zone. So you can hone in to what God is saying to you, hone in to what is your most divine truth. And when you're in that place, then you'll know the way, because you'll feel it, you'll sense it. It will be undeniable. It will click like, oh, that's it. That is my purpose and I know it. I've known it all my life. But you do need to get quiet. Okay? Not everything spiritual is intuition. Sometimes it's unhealed emotion. 2 separate things that you got to deal with. And the unhealed emotion is probably only unhealed because you're being delusional about something. And when you choose to use discernment, the delusion will fade. And the intuition within you will help pave the path that you're supposed to be on right now. Okay? This is the way. This is the way that God has made. That God has made. You will rejoice. You will rejoice and be glad in it. Be glad in it. This is the way that God has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the way. This is the way that God has made. Remember, we don't hide from the truth. We handle it sovereignly. Peace, y'all.